let's go ahead and talk about this next team. And those are obviously the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons this year took the steps forward, but it seems like Dennis Schroeder isn't staying. Malik Beasley might have played his last NBA game with those allegations of point shaving, betting on ball games. And then Duncan Robinson is expected to return or be used in a sign and trade. Could be poached by the Detroit Pistons. And then there's Caris LeVert, who is also another guy that the Hawks hope to return. So before we start and continue, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you guys expect and why? If you're a Pistons fan, if Malik Beasley and Dennis Schroeder are gone, and Tim Hardaway is probably just going to get a little bit over the veteran minimum or the veteran minimum if he does return, what do you think of LeVert or Duncan Robinson? So where are these reports coming from? Well, these reports are coming from my colleague Michael Scotto at hoopshype.com. So basically what is being said is that the Pistons, meanwhile, are likely to take a run at Duncan Robinson, who could suddenly fill their need if shooting, with Malik Beasley potentially gone. And then, of course, we told you that Caris LeVert is a guy that Sacramento, who was interested in Dennis Schroeder. The Pistons are interested in Caris LeVert, who's projected to get a 2-year, $30 million deal, which is about $15 million annually. Caris LeVert averaged 12 points, 3.5 assists, and 3 rebounds a game on 64 appearances, shooting 46% from the field and 37% from 3. Duncan Robinson averaged 11 points, 2.5 assists, 2.5 rebounds, 74 games on 43% from the field and 39% from 3. As you guys see, I think both players give you shooting. One's more of like a herky-jerky type of guy that I believe, looking at someone along the lines of Duncan Robinson, might be a bit better suited for what the Pistons need, as he's a guy who doesn't need the ball in his hand, does a good job of, coming in, whether it's starting or off the bench, whether having a rhythm or not. I think is a bit impactful part of all of this. And again, if Malik Beasley and Dennis Schroeder are gone, we don't even know with Malik, and Simone Fontecchio could be moved, but he might be someone they have to keep who's a good shooter. They right now have Jalen Duren. Bobby Klintman is kind of like a switch big. Isaiah Stewart. Then their power forwards are Tobias Harris and Simone Fontecchio. That's the thing with Duncan Robinson, is he played the 2-3 and even small ball 4. They have Asar Thompson, Ron Holland. They have themselves Marcus Sasser, Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, Chaz Lanier, Ron Harper Jr., and Tolu Smith. As we mentioned before, it was expected that Beasley and Schroeder were going to probably come back, but it seems like now that may not happen. And Tim Hardaway Jr., you'd assume would be a minimum or a little bit over the minimum, not too much, maybe barely costing you part of your, mid-level exception. I think if you can get a guy like Duncan Robinson, he's probably cheaper than $15 million a year. He might be closer to 12. Now, some people might be saying, then why did he decline that $19 million deal? Well, he probably declined $19 million deal knowing that he's probably going to get a 3 to 4 year deal, making $10 million a year. So you take the guaranteed money instead of just the 1 year money in this scenario. And I think with a team like Detroit, Duncan Robinson is able to play alongside Jaden Ivey or Cade Cunningham or Asar Thompson or Tobias Harris. Same thing with Simone Fontecchio, Ron Holland, and Marcus Sasser. While I think Caris LeVert, he's more of a guy you want off the bench. He needs the ball a bit more in his hand. And I'm not saying that they won't fit, but Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson with Caris LeVert becomes a bit more complicated, where you realize, okay, Caris LeVert's probably going to be relegated just to a 6-man role. While if you're looking at Duncan Robinson, he can legit be either a 6-man, a starter, your 10th guy. He gives you a lot more luxury in terms of how you can use him as a utility shooter rather than just a scorer off the bench. And he does not need the ball whatsoever in his hand. I think that there plays a larger, fact into what could happen. And by the way, it seems like Deron Sharp's off the menu, and seemingly Colin Galipse. So there are multiple teams going after their own free agents, and this year's free agency might be a little bit calmer, or not as many big trades or signings as you expect, and working around the margins. And I think a deal like a Duncan Robinson, even a Caris LeVert, even though I'm more privy to the Duncan Robinson deal for Detroit, as we saw that having guys who don't need the ball in their hand and be shooters clearly was way more impactful for Cade Cunningham than I think a guy like Caris LeVert, who kind of takes the ball out of both Cade and Jaden's hands. So that's just my thoughts on that one. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think and why about this one? What do you think should happen if you were the GM, Trajan Langdon? I think also Duncan Robinson fits JB Bickerstaff's coaching style, which is just gritty and hard-nosed. And I think it would just be a better fit all in all right there holistically.